You feel it in your chest, don't you? That moment when something inside you just stops, not breaks, stops. Like a wheel that's been spinning for months, maybe years, suddenly finding stillness. You've been holding on so tight, waiting, hoping, believing that if you just love hard enough, stay open long enough, hold space wide enough, he'll finally see. He'll finally come home. But there's this moment, and you know it because you're living it right now, when your soul whispers something different. When your heart, exhausted and raw and so incredibly tired, finally says no more. Not with anger, not with bitterness, just with this quiet, unshakable knowing that you cannot keep giving to someone who isn't ready to receive. You cannot keep pouring into a space that refuses to hold you back. And in that moment, everything shifts. You shift. The chasing stops. Not because you stopped loving him, but because you finally started loving yourself more. Have you felt it? That strange mix of grief and relief. The sadness of letting go tangled with the freedom of finally choosing you. It's disorienting, isn't it? Because part of you wonders if this means it's over. If walking away from the chase means walking away from the connection. But deep down, beneath the fear and the questions and the what-ifs, your soul already knows the truth. This isn't the end. This is the beginning, the real beginning. Because the twin flame journey was never about chasing. It was never about convincing or proving or waiting for someone else to be ready. It was always, always about you, about your awakening, your sovereignty, your return to the wholeness you forgot you had. And the moment you stop chasing him and start embodying her, the woman you were always meant to become, everything in the energetic field transforms. He feels it. The universe responds to it, and the journey moves into a phase that changes everything. If you've reached this sacred turning point, if you felt yourself stepping back from the chase and into your own power, I need you to drop a comment below and simply say, "I choose me now." Claim that energy. Let the universe hear your declaration. And if these transmissions are speaking directly to your soul, subscribe so you continue receiving the guidance that's meant specifically for your journey. You're here for a reason. Let's walk this path together. So let's talk about what's really happening when you stop chasing. Because this isn't just a behavioral shift. This isn't you playing hard to get or using some strategy to make him come back. This is something far more profound. This is a complete energetic transformation. For so long, you've been operating from a frequency of lack. Not because you're broken or doing something wrong, but because the nature of chasing inherently comes from a place of believing something is missing. When you chase, you're unconsciously affirming that union is outside of you, that your completeness depends on his readiness, that your happiness is on hold until he wakes up. And the universe, in its perfect mirror, reflects that frequency right back to you. Distance, silence, separation, not as punishment, but as invitation. Invitation to turn inward, to find what you've been seeking in him inside yourself. Have you noticed how exhausting it's been? The constant checking for messages, the analyzing of every little sign, the hoping and waiting and wondering if today will be the day he finally reaches out. If today will be the day he finally gets it. You've been living in the future, in the someday, in the when he's ready. And in doing so, you've abandoned the present moment. You've abandoned yourself. because every ounce of energy you've poured into wondering about him has been energy not poured into becoming who you're meant to be. And here's the truth that might sting a little, but will also set you free. He doesn't need you to wait for him. He doesn't need you to hold space for him while neglecting the space within yourself. What he actually needs, what the connection actually requires, is for you to be so whole, so aligned, so deeply rooted in your own truth that you become the frequency that calls him home. Not through force, not through convincing, but through embodiment. This is what the divine feminine journey has always been about. You are not just the one who loves. You are not just the one who sees the potential. You are the alchemist, the catalyst, the one whose inner transformation ripples through the entire energetic field and shifts everything. But you cannot alchemize from a place of depletion. You cannot catalyze from a place of chasing. The power, the real power, comes when you stop moving toward him and start moving deeper into yourself. When you stop asking when will he be ready and start asking who am I becoming? Because that shift, that simple but profound shift in focus, changes the entire trajectory of the journey. Let's go deeper into what happens inside you when you stop chasing. There's this moment, and maybe you're in it right now, where you just get tired. Soul tired, not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The kind of tired that comes from carrying something that was never yours to carry. You've been trying to hold the connection together, trying to keep the flame alive for both of you, trying to believe hard enough for the both of you. And it's exhausting because it's not your job. It was never your job. Your job, your only job, is to tend to your own flame, to keep your own light burning, to nurture your own garden. And somewhere along the way, you forgot that. You started believing that love meant sacrifice, that devotion meant waiting, that being the divine feminine meant holding space for him while collapsing the space within yourself. But the divine feminine is not a doormat. She is not endlessly patient in a way that diminishes her own needs. She is not so understanding that she tolerates being unseen. The true divine feminine, the embodied feminine, knows her worth. She knows that her love is sacred. She knows that access to her energy, her body, her heart, her presence is a privilege, not a right. And she knows when to open and when to close, when to flow and when to contain, when to give and when to protect. This is the wisdom you're stepping into now. The wisdom of boundaries, not walls, but sacred boundaries that honor your energy and your truth. And this wisdom, this reclamation of your power, is what transforms everything. When you stop chasing, you begin to reclaim all the energy you've been leaking. Think about it. Every time you checked your phone hoping for his message, every time you replayed the last conversation trying to decode his words, every time you wondered what he was doing, who he was with, if he was thinking about you, that was your energy leaving your body and going to him. Cords, energetic cords that kept you tethered to someone who wasn't holding the other end. And those cords, as long as they remain, keep you in a state of lack, keep you in a state of waiting, keep you from fully inhabiting your own life, your own body, your own present moment. But when you consciously choose to stop chasing, when you start pulling your energy back home to yourself, those cords begin to dissolve. And as they dissolve, you start to feel different. Lighter, clearer, more present, more you. This is when the real work begins, not the work of fixing the connection, the work of remembering yourself. Who were you before this connection consumed you? What did you love? What made you feel alive? What dreams did you put on hold because you were waiting for him to be ready to dream with you? These questions matter because the answer to them is the pathway back to your power. You start doing the things you stopped doing. You start nurturing the parts of yourself you abandoned. You start building a life that feels full and rich and beautiful, not because he's in it, but because you are. And this isn't about pretending you don't care. This isn't about numbing your feelings or building walls around your heart. This is about expansion. Expanding beyond the narrow focus of the twin flame connection and remembering that you are vast. You are infinite. You are not just his counterpart. You are a whole universe unto yourself. Have you started to feel it? That shift from contraction to expansion, from waiting to living. It might feel strange at first, almost guilty, like you're betraying the connection by choosing yourself. But that guilt is just the old pattern trying to pull you back. The pattern that says your worth is tied to his awakening. The pattern that says you're only valuable if you're available. The pattern that says love means endless patience, even when that patience is costing you your peace. But you're breaking that pattern now. You're choosing a different way. And it's in this choosing, this daily, moment-by-moment choosing of yourself, that you become magnetic in a way you've never been before. Let's talk about what's happening on his side, because this is where it gets interesting. For so long, he's had the luxury of your certainty. He's known on some level that no matter how far he runs, no matter how long he stays silent, no matter how much he resists, you'll be there. Waiting, hoping, holding space. And that certainty, while it might seem like love to you, actually enables his avoidance. It allows him to stay comfortable in his fear. It gives him permission to not face what he needs to face because he knows the connection isn't going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. But the moment you stop chasing, the moment you pull your energy back and start focusing on yourself, he feels it. Even if you haven't spoken, even if you're in complete no contact, he feels the shift in the field. At first, he might not consciously understand what's changed. He might just notice a strange emptiness, a void where your energy used to be. For so long, even in separation, he's been feeding off your focus. Your thoughts about him, your prayers for him, your hope for the connection. That energy, even from a distance, has been sustaining something in him, keeping him tethered, keeping him connected without having to do the work of actually being present. But when you withdraw that energy, when you stop feeding the connection from your side, he starts to feel the absence. And absence, unlike presence, cannot be ignored. He might try to dismiss it at first, tell himself he's imagining things, convince himself that he's fine, that he doesn't need the connection, that he's better off without the intensity. He might distract himself with work, with friends, with other relationships, with anything that keeps him from feeling the growing ache inside. But it doesn't work. Not really. Because the twin flame connection isn't just emotional. It's not just mental. It's soul deep. It's woven into the fabric of who he is. And when you, his mirror, his catalyst, his divine counterpart, shift your energy so dramatically, he cannot help but feel the ripple. It moves through him whether he wants it to or not. This is when the real awakening process begins for him, not because you're chasing, not because you're trying to wake him up, but because your absence, your energetic withdrawal, creates a void that forces him to look inward. For the first time, maybe ever, he has to sit with himself. He has to feel what he's been running from. He has to face the fear, the unworthiness, the shame, the pain that's been driving his avoidance all along. And it's uncomfortable, it's painful, it might even feel like a crisis, but it's necessary, because he cannot step into union while still running from himself. He cannot meet you as an equal while still operating from fear. And your chasing, your constant presence, your endless patience, was actually preventing him from having to do this work. But now, with you gone, with your energy no longer propping him up, he has no choice but to face himself. Deep inside, he knows what he's lost. He knows what he's been avoiding. He knows that the connection with you is unlike anything he's ever experienced. But knowing and being ready are two different things. And for so long, he hasn't been ready. He's been too scared, too conditioned, too trapped in his own patterns to step into what the connection requires. But your stepping back doesn't just create space for him to wake up. It creates necessity. Because now, it's not just about whether he wants the connection. It's about whether he's willing to do what it takes to be worthy of it. And that shift from passive wanting to active becoming is everything. You might wonder if he'll actually do the work, if he'll actually wake up. And here's the truth. You can't control that. You can't force his awakening any more than you could force the sun to rise by staring at the horizon. His journey is his. His timing is his. His choices are his. And the moment you truly accept that, the moment you release your attachment to his process and focus fully on your own, you step into a level of freedom you haven't felt in a long time, because you're no longer waiting for him to determine your happiness. You're no longer making his readiness the condition for your peace. You're building a life, a beautiful, full, aligned life that doesn't need him to be complete. And paradoxically, that's when you become truly ready for union. Let's talk about what union actually is, because there's a lot of misunderstanding around this. Union is not about finally getting the relationship you've been waiting for. It's not about him finally committing, or finally being ready, or finally showing up the way you've been hoping. Union is an internal state first. It's the merging of your own inner masculine and feminine. It's the integration of all the fragmented parts of yourself. It's the healing of the wounds that made you chase in the first place. The abandonment wound that made his distance feel like death. The unworthiness wound that made you believe you had to earn love. The codependency wound that made you believe your happiness depended on someone else's choices. Union is what happens when you heal those wounds, when you become so whole within yourself that you no longer need him to complete you. And here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you no longer need union, you become ready for it. The moment you stop chasing it, you start embodying it. Because union, true union, can only happen between two whole people. Two sovereign beings. Two individuals who have done their inner work and can come together not out of need, but out of overflow. Not to fill a void, but to share their fullness. And you cannot get there by waiting for him. You can only get there by doing your own work, by healing your own wounds. by becoming so aligned with your truth that union is no longer something you seek. It's something you are. This is the shift that's happening in you right now. You're moving from seeking union to becoming union. And as you do, your entire frequency changes. You stop vibrating at the frequency of lack, of waiting, of hoping. You start vibrating at the frequency of wholeness, of presence, of embodied love. And that frequency, that shift in your energetic signature, is what calls in a completely different experience. Not just with him, but with life itself. Opportunities start appearing. Synchronicities increase. You start meeting people who reflect your new frequency back to you. Your creativity flows. Your intuition sharpens. You feel more alive, more vibrant, more connected to yourself and to the divine than you have in years. Because you're no longer leaking energy. You're no longer abandoning yourself. You're home. Finally, blessedly home in your own body, your own heart, your own life. And from this place of homecoming, if reunion is meant to happen, it will. But it will look different than you imagined. It won't be you finally convincing him. It won't be him finally getting it and coming back with apologies and promises. It will be two people who have both done their work, both faced their shadows, both become whole, recognizing each other from a place of readiness, meeting not as wounded child and wounded child, but as sovereign adult and sovereign adult. Coming together not because they need each other, but because they choose each other. And that kind of union, the kind built on wholeness rather than need, is unshakable. It's not dependent on external circumstances. It's not fragile or conditional. It's rooted in truth, in alignment, in mutual respect and genuine readiness. But here's what you need to understand. That reunion might not happen, and you need to be okay with that. Not in a resigned, bitter way, but in a genuinely peaceful way. Because the twin flame journey is not a guarantee of a romantic relationship. It's a catalyst for awakening. And sometimes, the highest expression of that awakening is two people loving each other from a distance, honoring the connection while living separate lives. Blessing each other's journey without needing to be in each other's daily reality. And if that's what's meant to be, if that's how your story unfolds, it doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean the connection wasn't real. It means you both grew in the ways you needed to. Grow, and the form of the relationship served its purpose. This is why your focus cannot be on getting him back. Your focus has to be on becoming who you're meant to be, with or without him. Because that's the only way you win. That's the only way you don't lose years of your life waiting for someone else to be ready. You reclaim your power. You rebuild your life. You remember your worth. And from that place, whatever happens with him is just an addition to an already full life. Not the thing that makes or breaks you. Not the condition for your happiness. Just one possibility among many. And that shift, from making him your everything to making yourself your foundation, is the most important shift you'll ever make. So what does this look like practically? How do you actually stop chasing and start embodying? It starts with small choices, daily choices. The choice to not check his social media. The choice to not reach out when you're feeling lonely. The choice to not analyze his every word or action looking for hidden meaning. The choice to redirect your focus back to yourself every time you notice it drifting to him. These choices feel small, but they're powerful. Because every time you choose yourself, you're rewiring old patterns. You're building new neural pathways. You're teaching your nervous system that you are safe even without his presence, that you are worthy even without his validation, that you are whole even without his love. You start filling your days with things that nourish you, not as distraction, but as genuine investment in your own life. You take that class you've been thinking about. You reach out to friends you've been neglecting. You start that creative project. You move your body in ways that feel good. You spend time in nature. You journal. You meditate. You pray. You do whatever helps you feel connected to yourself and to something larger than the drama of the connection. And slowly, day by day, choice by choice, you start to feel different. The obsession loosens. The anxiety quiets. The desperate need for him to come back softens into a gentle hope that whatever's meant to be will be. This doesn't mean you stop loving him. Love doesn't just turn off. The connection doesn't disappear, but the nature of your relationship to it changes. It's no longer the center of your universe. It's no longer the thing everything else revolves around. It becomes one part of your life, one thread in the larger tapestry, rather than the whole cloth. And from this more balanced place, you can actually see the connection more clearly. You can see where you've been abandoning yourself, where you've been making excuses for behavior that doesn't honor you, where you've been settling for crumbs when you deserve the whole feast, and you start making different choices, setting boundaries, saying no to what doesn't serve you, saying yes to what does. You might notice him starting to reach out more, or you might not. You might see signs that he's waking up, or you might not. And here's the key: you're okay either way, because your peace is no longer dependent on his actions. Your worth is no longer tied to his recognition. You've found your center. You've come home to yourself. And from that place, you can hold the connection lightly. With love, yes. With hope, maybe. But without the desperate clinging that was draining your life force. You can be open to reunion without needing it, available without waiting, loving without chasing. And that is the frequency that shifts everything. Because when you're no longer chasing, when you're standing fully in your power, embodying your worth, living your life with joy and purpose, you become irresistible. Not in a manipulative, trying to get him back kind of way, but in a genuine, authentic, this is who I am kind of way. You become the woman he saw glimpses of when you first met. The woman he fell in love with before fear took over. The woman who is so aligned, so magnetic, so fully herself that being in her presence feels like coming home. And if he's ready, if he's done his work, if he's stepped into his own power, he'll feel that shift and he'll respond. Not because you're playing games, not because you're using strategy, but because two people who are both whole naturally gravitate toward each other. But again, and this is so important, you cannot do this to get him back. You cannot fake embodiment. You cannot pretend to be whole while secretly still chasing. The universe sees through that. He feels through that. Your nervous system knows the difference. This has to be real. This has to be a genuine shift in your relationship to yourself, to the connection to life. And that shift only happens when you're willing to let go. Truly let go, not as strategy, but as surrender. Surrender to what is. Surrender to divine timing. Surrender to the possibility that the connection might not look the way you thought it would. Surrender to the truth that you cannot control his journey. You can only walk your own. And as you walk your own journey, as you focus on your own healing and growth and becoming, something magical happens. You start attracting your life from a completely different frequency. The job you've been wanting, the friendships that feel nourishing, the opportunities that align with your purpose, the peace you've been seeking, the joy you thought was dependent on him, it all starts flowing to you because you've cleared the blocks. You've healed the wounds. You've stopped leaking energy. You've become a magnet for blessings rather than a chaser of crumbs. And your life transforms, not because he came back, but because you came back to yourself, back to your power, back to the truth of who you've always been beneath, the pain and the longing and the waiting. This is what the divine feminine journey has always been calling you toward. Not waiting for the masculine to be ready, but becoming so deeply rooted in your own feminine power that you don't need him to be. Becoming the temple, not just the doorway. Becoming the frequency, not just the one who holds space for it. Becoming the embodiment of love, not the one who chases it. And when you do that, when you truly step into that power, you don't just change your life. You change the entire energetic field. You become a beacon, a light, a woman who has walked through the fire of the twin flame journey and emerged not burned, but refined, not broken, but whole, not waiting, but living. The masculine, if he's paying attention, if he's doing his work, will feel this transformation. He'll sense that something fundamental has shifted, that the woman who used to chase him, who used to wait for him, who used to make him the center of her world, is no longer doing that. And it will trigger something in him. A recognition, a fear maybe, that he's losing something precious. A realization that his time to hide is running out. A call from his own soul to step up, to face himself, to become the man worthy of the woman you're becoming. But whether he answers that call or not is not your concern. Your concern is continuing to walk your path, continuing to choose yourself, continuing to build a life so beautiful, so aligned, so full that his presence would be a gift, but not a necessity. There will be moments when you doubt, when you wonder if you're doing the right thing, when you miss him so much it physically hurts, when you're tempted to reach out, to check in, to see if he's thinking about you. And in those moments, you have to come back to yourself, come back to your breath, come back to your body, come back to the truth that you are not abandoning the connection by choosing yourself. You're honoring it. You're honoring it by becoming the highest version of yourself, by doing the work that the connection is calling you to do, by refusing to stay small, to stay stuck, to stay waiting. You're honoring the connection by walking your path with courage and grace, trusting that if union is meant to happen, it will find its way to you. And maybe it will. Maybe one day, after you've done your work and he's done his, after you've both become whole and sovereign and ready, you'll come back together. Perhaps it will be months from now or years. Perhaps it will be when you least expect it, when you've finally stopped checking your phone every 5 minutes, when you've stopped analyzing every synchronicity, when you've stopped trying to decode his energy or predict his next move. Maybe it will be in that sacred moment when you've genuinely let go of the outcome, when you've released your white-knuckled grip on how you think this story should unfold. And when that reunion comes, if it comes, it will be different. It will be completely, beautifully, profoundly different from what you've experienced before. It will be conscious. It will be intentional. It will be awake. It will be healthy in ways you couldn't even imagine when you were caught in the push-pull dynamic, in the chaos of the runner-chaser pattern, in the intensity that felt like love, but was actually two wounded souls triggering each other's deepest pain. It will be two people choosing each other from a place of wholeness rather than need, from a place of desire rather than desperation, from a place of genuine love rather than trauma bonding or codependency, disguised as divine connection. And that reunion will be worth every moment of the pain, every moment of the waiting, every moment of the work. Because it won't be fragile. It won't be something you have to tiptoe around, constantly afraid of saying or doing the wrong thing that might make him pull away again. It won't be conditional, dependent on you dimming your light, suppressing your needs, or contorting yourself into someone you think he can handle. It won't be dependent on either of you abandoning yourselves to maintain it, sacrificing your truth, ignoring your boundaries, or betraying your own soul just to keep the connection alive. It will be solid, real, grounded in reality rather than fantasy, built on a foundation of mutual respect, genuine love, and deep spiritual alignment. It will be a relationship where both people show up fully, communicate honestly, take responsibility for their own healing, and honor each other's journey without trying to control or manipulate the outcome. Or maybe it won't happen. Maybe your paths will diverge. Maybe the connection served its purpose in catalyzing your awakening, in shattering you open so completely that you had no choice but to transform, in bringing everything unhealed within you to the surface so you could finally face it, feel it, and release it. Maybe he was the mirror you needed to see yourself clearly, the catalyst that initiated your spiritual awakening, the soul contract that was meant to activate something within you, but not necessarily meant to last forever in physical form. Maybe the highest expression of love is releasing each other to live separate lives, to honor that what you shared was profound and purposeful, but not meant to be a permanent partnership in this lifetime. Maybe the greatest gift you can give each other is the freedom to walk your own paths, to grow in the directions your souls are calling you, to love each other enough to let go rather than holding on from a place of fear, attachment, or the belief that you can't be whole without each other. And if that's what unfolds, you'll be okay, more than okay. I know it doesn't feel that way right now. I know the thought of a life without him in it feels devastating, feels like losing a part of your soul, feels like something you can't possibly survive. But you will, because you'll have gained something far more valuable than a romantic relationship, something far more lasting than any external connection could ever be. You'll have gained yourself, your power, your center, your truth, your sovereignty, your unshakable knowing that you are whole, worthy, and deeply loved, with or without him, regardless of whether he ever wakes up, regardless of whether he ever chooses you, regardless of whether this connection ever manifests in the way you've dreamed it would. And that knowing, that embodied truth, that lived experience of your own completeness, is something no one can ever take from you. It's not dependent on his choices, his readiness, his healing journey, or his ability to show up. It's yours. Forever, it's the treasure you've been digging for through all this pain, through all this confusion, through all this waiting. It's the gold hidden in the darkness. It's the gift wrapped in the most painful package you've ever received. So, beloved, let this be your permission slip. Permission to stop chasing. Permission to stop making yourself smaller, dimmer, quieter in hopes that he'll finally be ready to meet you. Permission to stop obsessing over every detail of his life, his social media, his energy, his potential next move. Permission to choose yourself. Permission to make decisions based on what you want, what you need, what lights you up, rather than what might bring him back or what might make him finally see your worth. Permission to build a life that doesn't revolve around his readiness. A life that is full and rich and meaningful regardless of whether he ever shows up. Permission to set boundaries. Real boundaries, not the kind you threaten but never enforce, not the kind you set, and then immediately abandon the moment he breadcrumbs you with a text or a dream or a synchronicity. Permission to say no. No to breadcrumbs. No to inconsistency. No to being someone's option while you're making them your priority. No to connections that drain you more than they fill you. No to waiting indefinitely for someone to be ready to love you the way you deserve. Permission to walk away from anything that doesn't honor you. Anything that requires you to betray yourself. Anything that keeps you stuck in a holding pattern while your life passes you by. Permission to be whole right now, not someday when he's ready, not in some distant future when the stars finally align and he's done his healing work. Right now, today, in this moment, you don't need his validation to know your worth. You don't need him to see you, choose you, or confirm that you're special to prove that you matter. You don't need his presence to feel complete. You are not half of, a whole waiting for your other half to show up. You are already whole, already complete, already everything you need to be. You don't need his awakening to step into your power. His journey is his. Your journey is yours. And your power, your purpose, your becoming is not on hold waiting for him to catch up. You are the divine feminine, the creator, the life giver, the alchemist, the one who transmutes pain into wisdom, wounds into gifts, darkness into light, the one whose inner transformation ripples out and changes everything, not just for yourself, but for everyone whose life you touch, for the collective, for the planet. And the moment you stop looking outside yourself for completion and start embodying it from within, you become unstoppable. You become magnetic in a completely different way. You become a force of nature. You step into a frequency that either calls in what's truly meant for you or makes crystal clear what needs to fall away. This is your journey, your awakening, your becoming, your story, your life. And it's not dependent on him showing up. It's not contingent on whether he ever does his work, ever wakes up, ever becomes the man you know he could be. It's not on hold until he's ready. It's not paused, waiting in the wings, suspended in time until he finally gets his act together. It's happening right now. Every moment you choose yourself. Every time you prioritize your own healing over monitoring his energy. Every boundary you set. Every time you say no to what doesn't serve you and yes to what does. Every time you redirect your focus from him to you, from the connection to your own life, from what might happen someday to what you can create today. Every act of self-love, every moment you treat yourself with the tenderness, patience, and devotion you've been pouring into him. Every moment of presence. Every time you bring yourself back to the now instead of living in the past or the future, instead of replaying what was or fantasizing about what could be. You're not just preparing for union. You're not just doing the work so that someday, if you're good enough, healed enough, high vibe enough, you'll finally be worthy of the connection. You're becoming it. You're embodying the very union you've been seeking outside yourself. You're integrating your own inner masculine and feminine. You're becoming whole within yourself. You're creating the love story with yourself that you've been waiting for him to give you. And that beautiful soul is the whole point. Not to get him, not to manifest the relationship, not to make the connection work, not to finally be chosen by the one who keeps running, but to remember who you are, to reclaim your power, to strip away every false belief, every wound, every pattern that has kept you small, kept you seeking, kept you believing you need someone else to complete you. To step into the fullness of your divine feminine essence. To embody the goddess you've always been but forgot you were. To live your life from that place, regardless of whether he ever shows up or not. To build a life so beautiful, so full, so aligned with your truth that his presence or absence becomes secondary to the joy you've cultivated within yourself. The feminine is done chasing. She's done running after unavailable men, done trying to convince someone of her worth, done twisting herself into pretzels to be acceptable, done waiting by the phone for scraps of attention. She's stepping into her throne. She's sitting down in the seat of her own power, claiming her rightful place as the queen of her own life. She's remembering her power. The power she gave away, the power she placed in his hands, the power she's been waiting for him to give back to her, not realizing she's had it all along. She's choosing herself. Not as a strategy to get him back, not as a manipulation technique, not as a way to make him jealous or trigger him into chasing, but as a genuine, wholehearted commitment to her own well-being, her own life, her own soul. And in doing so, she's not ending the journey. She's not giving up on love, on connection, on the possibility of divine partnership. She's finally, truly beginning it. She's starting the real journey, the one that was always meant to be about her own becoming, because the real twin flame journey was never about him. It was never about getting the guy, making the relationship work, or proving that your connection is special. It was always about her, about you, about the woman you're becoming when you stop waiting and start living. When you stop putting your life on hold and start showing up fully for the life you have right now. When you stop chasing and start embodying. When you stop running after someone else's energy and start cultivating your own. When you stop seeking validation and start validating yourself. When you stop seeking union outside yourself and start creating it within. When you stop looking for someone else to complete you and start completing yourself. When you stop waiting for permission to be whole and start claiming your wholeness right now. That's when everything changes. That's when the entire game shifts. That's when you stop being a victim of circumstance and start being the creator of your reality. That's when the magic happens. That's when synchronicities start flowing, when doors start opening, when opportunities start appearing, when you start attracting people and experiences that actually match your worth. That's when you become the woman you were always meant to be. The woman who doesn't chase because she knows her worth. The woman who doesn't wait because she's too busy living. The woman who doesn't need anyone to complete her because she's already whole. That woman, she's not someone you'll become someday. She's who you are right now, underneath. All the fear, all the attachment, all the stories about needing him to be happy. She's been there all along, waiting for you to remember her, waiting for you to come home to yourself, waiting for you to finally choose her the way you've been choosing him. And the moment you do, everything transforms. So tell me, beautiful soul, have you felt this shift? Have you reached the point where you're done chasing and ready to choose yourself? Drop a comment and share where you are in this journey. What has changed since you stopped focusing on him and started focusing on you? Your story might be exactly what another soul needs to hear today. And remember, you are not alone in this. We are all walking this path together, learning to love ourselves first so we can love fully, freely, and from a place of wholeness. This is the way. This is the path. And you, beloved, are exactly where you need to be.